The SAT. Just hearing that word can be stressful, right? But what if I told you the reading and writing section isn't some big mystery, but actually a puzzle? And like any puzzle, it has a clear solution. Today, we're going to crack that code together and break it all down into simple, manageable pieces.
Look, I get it. The SAT can feel like this big, unpredictable monster, but it's really not. Every single question is designed to test a very specific skill. It's a test built on patterns, and once you learn to see those patterns, you can build a solid strategy to absolutely conquer it.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with what this whole section is really about. Then, we're going to walk through the 4 major types of questions you'll see: picking the right word, figuring out the main point, using data, and nailing the grammar. This is pretty much the blueprint for the test itself.
So what is the reading and writing section really testing? It's definitely not about memorizing a bunch of facts from books. It's a test of how you think, how you analyze arguments, understand structure, and see the logic behind the way language works.
You know the official directions, the part everyone usually skips? They actually give you the whole game, right there. It says they test a number of important reading and writing skills. But here's the most important part. Every question is multiple choice with 4 options. And there is always one single best answer. No tricks, just pure logic.
All right, let's jump into our first skill, vocabulary in context. Now, this might sound like a classic vocab test, but it's not about who knows the fanciest words. It's about choosing the most precise word for the job.
So your strategy here isn't just about memorizing definitions. Instead, you need to be a detective and look for clues that are baked right into the sentence. Each question is like a miniature logic puzzle, and the context gives you everything you need to find that perfect fit.
Okay, let's see this in action. We've got an example here about former astronaut Ellen Ochoa. So what's our biggest clue? The sentence literally tells us she doesn't have a definite idea. That phrase right there is our guide. It tells us her statement is based on uncertainty, not some hard fact.
So, which word fits? Let's compare a couple of options. Does she demand it? No way. Demanding is authoritative, and the text just told us she's uncertain. Does she speculate? Yes. To speculate means to form a theory without firm evidence, which perfectly matches our clue, doesn't have a definite idea. See? It's just a logic puzzle.
All right, this next skill builds on that same idea of finding clues. But this time, you're asked to figure out why an author wrote something. What's the main point? What's the job of a specific sentence? You're basically becoming a literary detective, trying to uncover the purpose behind the words.
Take a look at this question. It gives us a short paragraph about the invention of reCAPTCHA, and it asks for the main purpose. Now, to solve this, we don't just skim, we look for the logical flow. What's the story this text is trying to tell us?
And when you map it out, that story becomes super clear. The text starts with a problem. Digital scanners were failing. Then it presents a key finding. Hey, humans can actually read these words easily. And that leads directly to the solution, the invention of reCAPTCHA. So the main purpose isn't just the problem, it's how all these pieces led to that final invention.
Now for a skill that might feel a little weird in a reading section, interpreting data. But really, these questions are all about making a connection. Can you accurately link the information in a table or a graph to a claim that's being made in the text? So before we even read the question, let's just look at this table. It's showing 5 different kinds of plants, and it's tracking where the young plants are growing. Are they on bare ground, or are they in patches with other plants? That last column tells us the percentage found in those patches. Simple enough.
Okay, now let's connect it to the text. The researchers are making a claim. They think these plants get an advantage by growing near other plants. And they give us a baseline. They say if it were totally random, only about 15% of the plants would be in these patches. Our job is to see if the data in that table actually supports their claim.
And wow, this is where it gets interesting. The random expectation was 15%, but look at the actual data from the table. For almost every plant, the number is closer to 60%. That is not a small difference, it's a massive gap. The data doesn't just support the claim, it proves it, big time.
Our next section gets into the real nuts and bolts: grammar, punctuation, and sentence structure. But listen, these questions aren't about some obscure rules nobody ever uses. They're about clarity and logic. Just think of them as the established rules of the road for writing in English.
Let's take the colon, for example. Its job is actually pretty simple but really powerful. A colon is basically a signpost. It's used when the second part of a sentence is going to explain or elaborate on the first part. The one big rule is that the part before the colon has to be a complete sentence that could stand on its own.
And we see a perfect example of this in one of the practice questions. The first part of the sentence makes a claim about worms searching for food. The part after the colon explains that claim. It gives a specific detail. In the northern hemisphere, the magnetic field points down, which is towards their food. The colon is the signal that says, hey, an explanation is coming.
And finally, we have questions that ask you to think like a writer. You get a set of notes and a goal, maybe to compare two people or present a study's findings, and you have to pick the one sentence that does the job most effectively.
So, in this question, our notes are about two really important women in the civil rights movement, Anna Hedgeman and Daisy Bates. Fact 1. Hedgeman worked behind the scenes as an organizer. Fact 2. Bates was the one who actually spoke on stage. The goal here is to compare these two very different but equally important contributions. And this answer choice does it perfectly. It uses that one little word, although, to create this really sophisticated sentence that contrasts Hedgeman's work in the background with Bates's public role. It takes all the key facts from the notes and combines them into one clear, powerful statement.
So there you have it. We've taken a journey through the heart of the SAT reading and writing section. We might have started by looking at the test as one giant, intimidating challenge, but now we can see it for what it really is, a series of recognizable puzzles, each one with its own logic, just waiting to be solved. And that right there is the absolute key to cracking this thing. The SAT isn't trying to trick you with a bunch of random facts. It is a predictable, pattern-based exam. It rewards a specific kind of thinking, the ability to see the logic in language, in arguments, and in data. Understanding the types of questions isn't just a tool, it's the master key to the whole test.
So the final question is really for you. Now that you can see the patterns, now that you know the structure of the test, which one of these skills feels like the best place for you to start? Because cracking this code really just begins with practicing one pattern at a time.